Darling, I have everything we could ever desire. I inhaled deeply, steeling myself as I pivoted, concealing the turmoil of what had just unfolded. Ethan Blake placed the bags on the counter with a soft thud, then pulled me close, his arms encircling my waist. He leaned down, planting a gentle kiss on my temple, a moment that felt both tender and electric. Are you all right? Your cheeks are tinged with a hint of color. I swallowed hard, my head bobbing in a swift nod. Indeed, it's likely just the steam swirling around us. Ethan Blake's laughter echoed through the room, a sound that danced with mischief and warmth. Text. I warned you against pushing yourself too hard. I forced a laugh, trying to blend in with the moment. Yet, as I assisted him in unpacking, the phantom of his touch clung to my skin, an echo of warmth that refused to fade. Relief should have washed over me. In that moment, clarity washed over me. This is just the beginning. The dawn of something extraordinary is upon us. With each breath, I fought to steady myself while assisting Ethan Blake in unpacking the groceries. My heart raced uncontrollably, each pulse echoing in my ears. Every accidental brush against the cold cardboard box, or the slick surface of the milk bottle, sent a jolt through me, as if those objects held the power to shatter the delicate barrier I was desperately trying to maintain. Ethan Blake remained blissfully unaware of the strange occurrences unfolding around him. He let out a hearty laugh, the sound echoing in the air. A moment of pure joy that seemed to suspend time. Perhaps it was the new neighbors moving in next door, or a captivating tale he stumbled upon while listening to the radio during his drive. I nodded, a soft chuckle escaping my lips at just the right moments. Yet, my thoughts were ensnared by the events that had just unfolded. Lucas stood at the edge of the world, a storm brewing in the distance, his heart racing with anticipation. The air crackled with energy, and he could feel the weight of destiny pressing down on him. Every moment felt charged, as if the universe itself was holding its breath, waiting for him to make his move. His silence hung in the air, thick and palpable, a heavy shroud that enveloped the room. His very presence loomed, a palpable force that commanded attention and stirred the air with unspoken tension. He stood there mere inches away. His gaze pierced through me, a knowing intensity that suggested he could predict my every reaction before I even had the chance to realize it. And worst of all, the treachery of my own body. Silence enveloped the scene, a stillness that hinted at the calm before the storm. Nothing had happened, yet the air crackled with unspoken tension, as if the world held its breath, waiting for the inevitable shift that would shatter the quiet. Not at all. I had cast him aside. I had commanded him to leave. What if Ethan Blake's car hadn't appeared at that precise moment? What if there had been nothing to hold me back? A wave of unease churned in my stomach. The thought clawed at the edges of my mind, but I fought to push it away. Yet it lingered, infiltrating every shadowy recess of my thoughts like an unshakable mark. Ethan Blake enveloped me in a warm embrace from behind, his chin gently resting on my shoulder, creating a moment that felt both intimate and electric. Are you truly all right? A shiver coursed through me, but I fought against it, surrendering to the warmth of his embrace. Indeed, exhaustion clings to me like a heavy fog, wrapping around my thoughts and dimming the light of my spirit. Ethan Blake's lips brushed against my neck, a feather-like kiss that sent shivers down my spine, before he turned away to place the items in the fridge. I stood there, my gaze fixed on him as he meticulously arranged each item, utterly unaware of my presence. He placed his trust in me. He placed his trust in Lucas. I bit my lip, guilt surging within me like an unstoppable tidal wave. I swear I didn't do anything wrong. But could that still hold true? If a tiny fragment of my heart hadn't yearned for Lucas to stay in that moment? Silence enveloped me, leaving my lips sealed tight. In the days that followed, I fought to erase every memory that haunted me. I convinced myself it was all a figment of my imagination, as if the brush of fingers against my wrist had never truly existed. As Lucas' breath brushed against my lips, the thrill of danger surged through me, electrifying the air between us. Yet, the truth was I found myself unable to do so. I sensed his presence long before he came into view. It was as if he could read the very thoughts swirling in my mind. Every moment etched him deeper into my thoughts, an indelible mark that refused to fade. And Lucas made sure I would never forget. He simply wouldn't. Silence enveloped the space, a void where anticipation hung heavy in the air. Nothing stirred, yet the weight of the absence felt palpable, as if the world held its breath, waiting for something to break the stillness. Yet that only deepened my sense of unease. Each visit to the grocery store sent a shiver down my spine, as if unseen eyes were tracking my every move. Each time I walked by the coffee shop near my house, an unsettling sensation crept over me, as if a pair of unseen eyes were watching me intently from across the street. One fateful night, as I stood in the kitchen, the cool water cascading into the glass, an unsettling presence washed over me before I even laid eyes on him. A heavy weight settled in my chest. I could feel his presence, a shadow lurking just beyond my reach. I glanced up, my heart racing, and there he was, Lucas, a shadowy figure looming just outside the kitchen window, swallowed by the darkness. The streetlights cast a dim glow, barely illuminating the contours of his face, shrouded in shadows and mystery. His gaze was piercing. A subtle smile played at the corners of his mouth. It was as if he could sense the very emotions swirling within me at that moment. That night, unlike any other, I stood at the sink, the clatter of dishes echoing in the rare silence left by my husband's departure. Suddenly, a warm breath brushed against my neck, sending a shiver down my spine. I was caught off guard, the silence enveloping me like a thick fog. Suddenly he was there, looming in the shadows, impossibly close. The friend of my husband. Silence hung in the air, heavy and unyielding, as he remained mute. He kept his distance, an invisible barrier between us. Yet I sensed his presence, the silence elongated, heavy with unspoken words. In that hushed moment he leaned closer and whispered, "Did you feel it as well?" I should have walked away. Yet I remained frozen in place. In that instant the world shifted irrevocably. My name is Clara Morgan. At 32 I find myself nestled in a quaint house in Brooklyn, New York, sharing my life with my husband, Ethan Blake. The kitchen radiated a soft, inviting glow, the pendant light above the sink casting a warm halo that danced across the room. The gentle rush of water enveloped me as I plunged my hands into the warm, soapy depths, a wave of comfort coursing through my fingertips, igniting a sense of tranquility within. The night enveloped me in an eerie stillness, a rare and unsettling quiet that felt almost foreign. Ethan Blake had just stepped out, his words lingering in the air. He mentioned a quick stop at the grocery store on Atlantic Avenue, a mission to gather a few essentials for breakfast in the morning. Without a word, I nodded and pressed on with the rest of the dishes, the silence thickening around me. In that moment I cherished the solitude, the house enveloped in a tranquil embrace. No blaring TV, no incessant chatter. Just the serene stillness broken only by the gentle rhythmic flow of water, creating a sanctuary of peace. With a deep sigh of relief, I surrendered to the enveloping warmth of the water, feeling it seep into my skin, easing the day's relentless aches and pains. My movements flowed with a captivating rhythm, each motion drawing me deeper into a trance-like state. With a determined grip, she seized the plate, its surface still glistening with remnants of the meal. She plunged it into the soapy water, scrubbing away the traces of yesterday's feast, each stroke a battle against the grime. Rinsing it under the cool, cascading water, she watched as the last vestiges of dirt vanished, leaving behind a pristine sheen. Finally, she set it on the rack, a small victory in the relentless march of chores. Reiterate. A tranquil moment unfolds, serene and unassuming. Outside the window, the streetlights flickered like distant stars, their hazy glow spilling onto the slick pavement, creating ghostly yellow streaks that danced across the glass. In the distance, the cacophony of honking horns reverberated through the bustling street, a constant reminder that the city was alive, its pulse relentless and unyielding. I shut my eyes for an instant, relishing the fleeting silence that hung in the air. A precious pause before Ethan Blake's return, before the world around me sprang back to life. But then, just as I believed I was utterly isolated, an unexpected chill slithered down my spine. I hadn't heard the door creak open, yet an unshakable sensation gripped me, causing me to freeze in place, caught in a web of uncertainty. A weighty presence loomed just behind me. A sudden tension seized my body. A primal instinct surged within me, whispering that someone loomed just behind, shrouded in shadows. My breath hitched in my throat as a wave of scent enveloped me, the delicate notes of sandalwood and tobacco weaving through the air. Felt hauntingly familiar. The air shifted and I felt the weight of familiarity pressing against my back, a presence I didn't need to see to recognize. Stood at the edge of the world, a name whispered in shadows and carried by the winds of fate. Ethan Blake's closest companion, a bond forged in the fires of college days. With the slick plate gripped tightly in my hand, I fought to maintain my composure. Deep down, a whisper of doubt lingers, suggesting that perhaps I'm merely succumbing to the tempest of my own emotions. Perhaps Lucas has merely dropped in for a visit. Perhaps he simply yearned to utter a greeting. But if that's true, why didn't I hear him coming? Why was he so near that I could sense the heat radiating from his body against my back? I inhaled deeply, striving to keep my voice steady and composed. "What brings you to this place, Lucas?" A low, soft chuckle whispered against the back of my neck, sending a shiver down my spine. A chilling sensation coursed through me, igniting every nerve with an electric thrill. "I simply wanted to gaze upon you." A deep furrow formed on my brow. The answer lingered in the air, shrouded in ambiguity and uncertainty. I kept scrubbing the dishes, forcing myself to ignore the weight of his presence, the rhythm of his breath, the subtle shifts of his body behind me. Yet the silence that loomed between us felt heavy, laden with unspoken words and unshared thoughts. The weight of it pressed down, suffocating and relentless, dense, as if an unseen thread was drawing the very air closer, constricting the space that enveloped us. Those eyes. A shiver ran down my spine, a sensation that gripped me tightly, even without a glance in its direction. As a razor's edge glides over my flesh, silence enveloped the room as you stepped inside, an unexpected hush that seemed to draw attention. Your presence was felt, yet your voice remained a mystery, leaving an air of intrigue hanging in the atmosphere. I struggled to maintain a steady tone, yet the tension in my voice was unmistakable, echoing my inner turmoil. I hesitated to reach out, not wanting to intrude. Every word dripped with a veiled sarcasm, lurking just beneath the surface. I bit my lip, my fingers digging into the cold edge of the sink. The water continued to flow, yet its warmth had vanished, leaving only a chilling emptiness in its wake. Lucas shifted, the tension in the air palpable as he felt the weight of unseen eyes upon him. A subtle shift, barely perceptible, yet it held the weight of 1,000 unspoken words. But it was enough for me to sense that the distance between us had shifted. He drew nearer. I tilted my head slightly, just enough to glimpse his figure flickering at the edge of my sight. The kitchen glowed with a pale yellow light, casting an eerie ambience that hinted at secrets waiting to be uncovered. The lamp flickered, casting sharp shadows that danced across Lucas' face, illuminating the tension etched in his features. His gaze pierced through the air, anchoring me in place. Darkness enveloped everything. Stillness enveloped the air, brimming with an enigmatic essence. In that moment, a slow smirk began to creep at the corners of his lips, hinting at secrets untold. It was as though he held a secret, a hidden truth just beneath the surface. I did not. My fists tightened into hard, unyielding balls of determination. A tight knot of unease coiled in my stomach, tightening with each passing moment. A whisper of caution echoed in the depths of my mind. This was not to my liking. Lucas's gaze sent a shiver down my spine, unsettling and intense. His proximity sent a shiver down her spine, an unsettling tension hanging in the air. The thick air in the kitchen clung to her like a heavy shroud, suffocating and oppressive. I swallowed hard, struggling to steady my breath. "Where is my husband?" I inquired. My voice danced through the air, delicate and ethereal. Yet the tension clung to every word, palpable and unyielding. Lucas shrugged, a grin lingering on his lips, as if the world around him held secrets only he could understand. "Are you still out there?" He paused, tilting his head, as if listening to a whisper only he could hear. "I sensed you could use a companion by your side." A tight knot formed in my stomach. It wasn't the words that struck her, but the haunting cadence in which he delivered them. It was as if he possessed an intimate understanding of the power each word held over me. It felt as if he were putting me to the ultimate test. I swallowed hard, fighting to ease the tension that gripped my body. I stand alone, unyielding and resolute, needing no one to define my existence. As I stand at the sink, the warm water cascades over my hands, the scent of soap filling the air. Each dish tells a story, a moment captured in time, As I scrub away the remnants of meals shared and laughter echoed, the rhythmic clinking of porcelain against porcelain creates a symphony of domesticity, drawing me deeper into the tranquil embrace of this simple task. My voice carried a sharper edge. Lucas pressed his back against the counter, his arms folded tightly across his chest, a storm brewing in his eyes. His gaze was locked onto mine, unyielding and intense. Is this the level of dedication you bring to every task? I strained to muster a smile, battling the weight of the moment, desperate to keep the atmosphere from sinking into darkness. After the last bite was savored, a heavy silence fell over the table, thick with the remnants of the meal. The clatter of dishes echoed in the dim light, a reminder that someone must rise to the challenge and restore order to the chaos left behind. Yet Lucas's lips remained unturned, a shadow crossing his face. He tilted his head, his gaze lingering on my face, as if he were deciphering a hidden truth within me. It seems Ethan Blake fails to recognize your true worth. I stood motionless. As I pivoted my head, our gazes locked in an electric moment. What is happening? Lucas hesitated, the silence stretching between them like a taut wire. His gaze locked onto mine, intense and probing, as though he were delving deep within, seeking something hidden in the shadows of my soul. As he spoke, his voice dropped to a lower register, concealing a sharp edge lurking beneath the surface. He abandons you to solitude far too often. The air in the kitchen hung heavy, suffocating and charged with an unspoken tension. My fingers tightened around the sink handle, a desperate attempt to steady my racing breath. A line drawn in the sand, a threshold that whispered of untold stories waiting to unfold. A delicate threshold now strained to the breaking point. The tension hung thick in the air, a palpable force that sent shivers down my spine. And then there was Lucas. He was aware of it as well. I faced the sink once more, attempting to push aside the tightness that wound itself around my chest. The water flowed endlessly, its soft murmur echoing in the silence. The soft hum enveloped me, a comforting reminder that I was anchored in my own kitchen, free from the weight of the world outside. What began as an ordinary exchange soon unraveled into a tapestry of secrets and revelations, each word laced with unspoken tension and hidden depths. The air crackled with anticipation, as if the very walls were eavesdropping on the unfolding drama, waiting to see what would emerge from this seemingly mundane dialogue. Only Lucas. Yet the sensation clawed at my mind, refusing to be silenced. A shiver ran down my spine as I sensed his presence looming just behind me, uncomfortably close, as if he were waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Then he shifted once more, the tension in the air crackling like a storm about to break. He hovered near me, his warmth radiating through the delicate fabric of my shirt, an unseen force that was impossible to ignore. I tightened my jaw, a storm brewing within me. A part of me yearned to pivot, to confront him directly, to assert with unwavering clarity that he needed to depart at once. Yet a darker, more perilous voice within me whispered that I must remain still, because if I dared to move, if I allowed my gaze to meet his, I would be forced to confront a truth I wasn't ready to face. I was torn, uncertain of which fate would be more unbearable. After what felt like an eternity, Lucas finally broke the silence. It's time to put an end to this. His voice dripped with a deliberate cadence, each word meticulously selected to settle into the silence between us, carrying an unspoken heaviness that lingered in the air. I stood motionless. Cease what action? I fought to maintain a steady tone in my voice. Yet it faltered, no longer the unwavering force it once was. Lucas hesitated, the silence stretching between them like a taut wire. His gaze traced the curve of my neck, a silent deliberation swirling in the air between us. Then he stepped back, the weight of the moment hanging in the air. The abrupt separation felt unsettling, a dissonance that echoed in the silence. "Okay," he said, his voice a mask of mystery. "Until we meet again." I released a breath I hadn't known I was holding, the air rushing out in a sudden liberating rush. The sound of his footsteps reverberated through the stillness of the house, each step a haunting reminder of his presence. With a soft thud, the front door sealed shut, echoing the finality of the moment. He had vanished into thin air. I stood there, transfixed by the water cascading into the sink, my breath coming in shaky bursts as I fought to regain my composure. Yet, despite my relentless efforts, The haunting sensation of his presence lingered, refusing to fade away. And I sensed deep within that this wouldn't be the final moment I'd feel his presence lurking behind me. I stand alone. My fists tightened into hard, unyielding balls. A peculiar sensation surged within my chest, stirring a tempest of emotions that demanded to be acknowledged. A sensation that danced on the edge of fear, yet lingered just beyond the reach of safety. I believed the end had finally come. I was mistaken. A few moments later, the sound of footsteps echoed in the silence. Unhurried, wary, returning once more. I whirled around, adrenaline surging through my veins. A flicker of anticipation ignited within me at the thought of Ethan Blake's presence. Perhaps he had left something behind, a crucial piece of himself, and now he was returning to reclaim it. But it was not to be. It was Lucas, the name that echoed in the shadows, stirring memories long buried. He lingered in the doorway, a shadow poised on the threshold, as if the world beyond held secrets waiting to be unveiled. His towering silhouette loomed over the floor, a dark presence that seemed to swallow the light around it. His gaze was unwavering, locked onto mine with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. Steadfast, without a moment's pause. Not a single regret. I swallowed hard. What keeps you lingering in this place? Lucas hesitated, the silence stretching between them like a taut wire. He burst through the threshold, the door crashing shut with a resounding thud. Gradually, with intent, the sound made me flinch, a jolt of instinctive fear coursing through me. Lucas inclined his head, curiosity flickering in his eyes. His eyes were shrouded in darkness. His voice was light, yet carried an undercurrent of danger. Something has been left behind. The kitchen closed in around her, its walls pressing tighter with each passing moment. The walls closed in, suffocating and oppressive. A primal instinct urged me to flee, to escape the encroaching darkness that loomed ahead. Yet my feet remained frozen in place. It's time for you to leave, Lucas. My voice had grown more formidable than ever. Yet I couldn't shake the doubt that lingered. Was it truly powerful enough to push him away? A slow smile crept across his lips, hinting at secrets untold. Not particularly bright, yet languid and perceptive. Do you sense it as well, Emma? I inhaled deeply, sensing the boundary that once defined us dissolve into nothingness. Lucas edged forward, the tension in the air thickening around him. Gradually, balance, until the space between us shrank to a single fragile breath. He trusts you, he whispered, his breath a warm caress against my cheek. Perhaps it was excessive. My fingers tightened around the edge of the counter. My grip was faltering. The air between us hung heavy, charged with the weight of an unspoken mystery. Lucas' hand grazed my arm, a fleeting touch that sent shivers down my spine. A feather-like caress. Yet it was enough to send a surge of electricity racing down my spine. I should have shoved him aside. I should have spoken up. Instead, I remained frozen in place. His lips lingered tantalizingly close to mine, a breath away from igniting the moment. The seconds stretched into eternity, each moment heavy with anticipation. And then a sudden silence enveloped the room, thick with anticipation, as if the very air held its breath, waiting for the next moment to unfold. The low rumble of tires crunching against gravel echoed through the stillness as a car glided into the driveway, its presence stirring the air with anticipation. Reality crashed down like a frigid wave, jolting every sense awake. I stood paralyzed. Lucas felt the same way. In that moment, the weight of what had nearly transpired hung heavily in the air between us. I shoved him back, my breath coming in ragged gasps. Move forward. At this very moment, Lucas's gaze lingered on me, his eyes shadowed with an intensity that sent a shiver down my spine, yet he remained silent, offering no resistance. He retreated, far from here. One final glance. Then he slipped away through the back door, vanishing into the shadows. My hands trembled against my chest, a desperate attempt to calm the wild thrum of my racing heart. Moments later, the front door creaked open. Ethan Blake stepped inside, oblivious to the chaos that had unfolded around him.